right, welcome back to another Moms in Business podcast where today Jade and I are going to be discussing all things Enneagram and if it's true or false. First things first, what
the heck is an Enneagram?
What the heck is an Enneagram? So I'll put the definition up here on the screen, and I'm also going to link to the YouTube video that we watched to properly identify the Enneagram. I definitely want to give her a shout out. I don't remember her name off the top of my head right now, but it's going to be in the link in the description below. She identified and defined the Enneagram as a personality system describing how each of us fits into one of 9 personality types, each with its own core motivations and fears that influence your approach to life. Is that
just
accurate?
Sounded deep.
Yeah, super deep. Super deep. But that's exactly, I would say that summed it up perfectly, because two of the big things about the Enneagram and what sets it apart is that you have motivations and fears, and it identifies those.
100%.
So.
And there are 9 of them.
Yes.
Something to remember, one is not greater than the other one. So it's not like, ooh, I'm a 9, you're a 1, so you suck. No, it's not. This is just put it into numbers. There's no right or wrong on any of these.
And frankly, we've done about a week's worth of research on the Enneagram. So not only are we not professionals in this, but we're just now kind of even scratching the surface of what these mean and are, and if we are what we think that we are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Highlight that. We are not professionals. We are not teaching you the Enneagram. What we are doing is we want to share with you our experience of us taking the test. So we got the bright idea, hey, let's take this test, figure out what we are, see if it's right. Connor husband's into taking the test for them.
Yep.
And hopefully the outcome is we better our relationships in our life, but by no means are we experts.
Yeah. So I think the next question would be, what is the validity of the Enneagram and what it means to us? You go first. What do you think that it's a valid way to identify yourself personally?
110%.
110%?
I think it can be a great resource for you in helping you figure out yourself and then how to deal with people in your life and their relationships. However, it's not a quick fix. It's not like, ooh, let's take a test. I'm a 4, world solved, and like now I know how I am and I should just go on, I think it's take a test, really dive deep into that, do the research, and then figure it out, because there's so much to this that we will not even cover the surface of it. But yeah, I think it's a great resource to have.
And I would agree. I'll be honest, though. Whenever I first opened up about the Enneagram and started looking into it, I said, this is total garbage. Any test to test your personality is total garbage. And why would you even, base yourself off of this? But it's actually become my favorite way to identify who you are as a person in general terms, because it goes so much deeper than just like, oh, yeah, you're constantly that. Or, oh, yeah, you're constantly this. It discusses your motivations and your fears. It goes over you in like your healthy state and your unhealthy state. And not just like you've cut out Diet Coke. It's like you are mentally healthy, you are mentally unhealthy on a day-to-day basis as life roller coasters. And then it also goes into how you can pull from different personality types on a more regular basis. We'll talk about these in a little bit, but those would be like your wings. So I find that the Enneagram is actually one of the most valid, in my opinion.
And, we are in real estate. So since I've been in real estate, we have been firm believers of using the DISC profile. So maybe that's just my age, because I feel like in my age group, we used the DISC, and then younger generation, out came the Enneagram. But I really like the DISC. I've gotten to know it very well. It helps us in our job, because when we're meeting people on a daily basis, if I have a client that's searching for a house, or I have a seller that's trying to sell their house, I don't have time to go into probably the Enneagram or even diagnose them. I'm not the professional, but I can kind of easily characterize a person from 4 categories of DISC.
Right.
So I probably still will use the DISC a lot more in work, but my friends and family and personal, I'll definitely kind of switch over to this Enneagram.
And I think that the DISC is even more appropriated for work, just because I feel like you can be a different person at work than you are in your personal life, and you almost kind of should be. and it gives you the idea of what you are in that situation. You know, I'm an IS in the DISC profile, but I don't think that I would identify as an I in my personal life.
Interesting.
Because, you know, obviously Jade disagrees. But I think that it's more because I'm pushing myself outside of my comfort zone, which an I kind of does because they're like the social networker and whatnot. Yeah. So
I think you're more an I social networker in your personal life, though, than in work.
Oh, gosh. Okay. So that's going to be a whole nother podcast then, because that's very interesting.
Stay tuned. We also thought it'd be funny. Like, we took these tests ourselves, but I really think an accurate description would be if, like, your spouse took it for you, or, like, maybe your best friend, or your sister or brother or somebody, because I feel like they'll answer it more truthfully. Yeah. And I have a hard time with these tests, all of them, because I want to answer them the way that I hope I am and not the way that I am. Right. Like, I want to be that good, great person. So I want to answer it, you know. So really being honest with yourself is the best way.
But then also, just like you do with the DISC profile, if you take this Enneagram test, which they say don't even take a test. They say read about each personality and then like kind of go from there and diagnose yourself that way. But take it in different points in your life and, you know, kind of quarterly, because that would allow you to take it more often. And then whichever becomes the constant is obviously what's going to actually be who you are. So, you know, we've taken it this first time. We have our results, and maybe we'll follow up, you know, sometime next year and see if we are still the same.
All right. Let's see. What are the 9?
Yeah, the 9 personality types.
So the first one is the reformer, also known as the perfectionist. Number 2 is the helper. 3 is the achiever, very work-driven. 4 is the individualist. Individualist. So, yes, speaking is not my forte. 5 is the investigator. Also, I've heard it as the researcher. 6 is the loyalist. 7, enthusiastic. See, again.
Enthusiast.
Oh, my gosh. Sorry. And 8 is the challenger. 9 is peacemaker. Okay, so quickly, you could probably pick one that you thought you were. So, all right, what were you?
So I came out as, well, before I even say that, just add a little bit of drama here. There's different wings and levels to each number. Right now, let's just share our core number, the number that you identify as.
Okay.
So I'm a 1. What are you?
I'm a 2.
And it's kind of tough just to talk about the core, but I think it's important because the 1 being known as the reformer or the perfectionist, if you were to go to the EnneagramInstitute.com, and I'll link that in the description box below, and read what the 1 is, it can be kind of like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Why am I the way that I am? Why do I have to be this way?
I don't want to be a 1.
Yeah, I don't want to be a 1. Can I pick something else? But I think that that's where those wings come into play, where a wing is quite literally where, and if you're on YouTube right now, you'll be able to see that I'm putting up in the screen right here, the map of the Enneagram types. And if you're listening to this podcast, you're just going to have to Google Enneagram types map. The link will be in the description box below, so that you can see what I'm talking about whenever I say wings, in that you can go to one side or the other. So as a 1, I can wing to the 9, or I can wing to the 2. And as a 2, you wing.
You swing, and you say wing, I always say swing. But yeah, so as a 2, you'd go swing 1 or swing 3. Yeah. So it's 1 up from your number. So you're not going to be a 2 and swing 7, you know. So.
And that's important because you're going to pull from those different numbers that you're swinging to. And so that's kind of where you get to be the personality that you are as in like real life, because I look at the 1 and I'm like, oh my God. But then I look at the 1 wing 9 and I'm like, oh, okay. I pull a little bit from there, and that's what kind of softens like the 1 is kind of known to be a rigid personality, and I would never have described myself as rigid. But then if you pull over to 1 wing 9, the 9 is, what are they called? The peacemaker. And they're just a little bit more go with the flow and relaxed. And so when I go and find myself either being rigid or what have you, I'll swing over to the 9 to kind of calm myself back down and be more chill. That's kind of the essence of what a wing does.
So I'm a helper. Number 2 is a helper, and then I wing 3 achiever. So for me, before I always took these tests before having kids, I guess I always was so indecisive in life a little bit. But I think that's part of the 2 in me is I'm a people pleaser. And so taking this test, I was afraid to be something to not please whoever I'm supposed to please when taking this test. If you want to break that down. For number 2, I hate picking dinner. I hate even making it because I want to please the people that's eating it. So I would hate to choose a place they wouldn't want to eat. Or I really fear, one of my fears is making a dinner that people don't like.
Yeah.
Which I do every day with my children. But if it's definitely someone that I'm hosting in the house, if I'm bringing you over as a guest, my husband and I had somebody over a couple months ago, and I had never met the woman, and he went to high school with the guy. I probably gained 10 million new gray hairs of trying to figure out what to make for these people. And they came over, they didn't really eat. And I'm over here inside oh my gosh, was it that bad? It was very basic. But apparently they were off schedule on timing or whatever the story they told me. But I had anxiety on cooking a meal for strangers.
Yeah.
So that's the fear of being the helper and wanting to be liked and the people pleasing of me.
Mm-hmm.
But then the 2-3, I get really, really conflicts because the 3 is achiever. All of my family were big hard workers. We want to be successful. A part of me maybe validates my success by how much money or that we make. So I was telling Allison earlier, in my heart, I think I would love to be work for a nonprofit or be a party planner or something that's
Very fulfilling.
Party planning for nonprofits and charities and creating events. If I had to do charity
You would be
runs,
so good at that.
I would love to do that. I absolutely love it. Number 1, that's not gonna make me a lot of money. So I don't think people would value my success at doing that very well. So therefore, I didn't go in that line of work. So the achiever in me have to get praise on the work.
Yeah.
So as a mom and working, which is what our podcast is about, so selling the number of houses, oh, how many houses did you sell this year? If that number is not high enough for me, I don't feel worthy.
Yeah.
So it's really strange. So it's the 2 and the 3 conflict in my head on that.
I could totally see where you would find them conflicting, but I think one, you have your different days where you're just really pushing and whatever, and then you also have what you're passionate about. So obviously your passion is the helper, which is why that's your core, but what drives you and what keeps you pushing forward would be the achiever side of you, which is kind of where you set this standard for yourself and you have to exceed it all the time because that's what you're basing your worth off of. I could totally see that. Yeah. So the other kind of side of the core personality types is that they have a high and a low. And that's one of the things that I really like about the Enneagram test or the Enneagram types is that they give you highs and lows. I feel like a lot of personality tests, BuzzFeed, we all know how that's going to go. They don't catch you on a good day or catch you on a bad day. It's just you are the way that you are. And that's so not the case. You absolutely have good days and bad days. And so being able to identify the personality type that you demonstrate on your good and bad days, I think is extremely helpful to either help you cope or just give yourself a little bit of grace and realize, okay, that's what I'm doing. I know that that's what I'm doing. Let me work on getting back to my healthy self. Mm-hmm. They identify it as healthy and unhealthy, and then high, low. You've also got your wings, like we just talked about, and then your core number. I think that my note here says, what are our types to life? What do we mean by?
I have no idea. What do you on your hot? If you're in a heated argument or you're stressed, what do you swing? What do you low to? I guess.
Yeah. So there's highs and lows to each core number, and then your number swings to a high or a low based on your healthy or unhealthy. It's much easier if you just look at the map and roll with me here. So if I'm a 1 and I'm having a great day, I'm going to high to a 7, and I'll be the good parts of a 7, which is the enthusiast. So I'm going to be really about it and ecstatic, excited, fun-loving. But then on bad days, I'm going to low to a 4, which is where low 4s are like the withdrawn, dramatic, temperamental, and it's beyond just being like a mom with hormones. Okay, we've all got those. It's like you're very down. A 4 gets very down because they're the individualist, they're sensitive, expressive, dramatic. It goes literally from one extent to the other. Gotcha. And it's that far. So I feel like that's pretty cool and actually very descriptive of me.
You're very accurate on that?
Yes, 100%. I can totally tell the days that I'm just like about it. Here we are. I'm here. I'm self-assured. I know exactly what's going on. I'm having fun. And then there's days where that is not the case.
Low, very low. So,
you know your high low? Okay.
So in stress, I go from a 2, I go to an 8. So the 8 is the powerful, dominating, self-confident challenger, which AKA means I get blunt. And
you skipped over confrontational. It says confrontational.
Yeah, but it's weird because I don't like to be confrontational with certain people, but if I'm comfortable with you, I quickly can become confrontational. Mm-hmm. So bless, my husband always says, you're the biggest pushover, except when it comes to me. It's not inaccurate on that because, I think, unfortunately, the 2 people in my life that get the truth of that is my husband and my sister. And so I will snap at the 2 of them. I will be so blunt. But the problem is, so I swing to an 8, but my husband's an 8. So in his daily life, he's an 8.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's not good for our household. That's why we learn what we are and how we can help better ourselves in this. But yeah, and then on a good day, I swing to a 4. Like when my highs are a 4, which I totally actually don't understand. Because
I think this is like saying certain things about it. Let me click on this.
No, I mean, but you understood it more, but I don't see that in myself. So, I always want to be creative. And when I look at that, I look at the artists and the dancers and the things like that. And so I love watching So You Think You Can Dance and like dreaming of being that person. Yeah. But like I have no artistic, I have no creative bone in my body. So I guess in the dream world, I become a 4. I don't know.
I mean, I think also, because this is saying right here, again, go to EnneagramInstitute.com to help follow along. But if you go to the healthy levels of the 4, it says one of these is self-aware, introspective, on the search for self, aware of your feelings and inner impulses. And then also level 3, highly personal, individualistic, true to self, self-revealing, emotionally honest, humane. I could just like keep going on. So maybe it's not that you're like going out and creating like the next cultural art piece that's going to be displayed in town square. But maybe it's just your healthy and really good days are days that you're self-aware, introspective, and you're highly personable and individualistic. You're just
I see that.
A good positive outlook and, less constrained to your like achiever side, which is just like success. That's hard to say.
Hey, definitely not done well with English today. Well, and that makes sense because, like, we just went on vacation. We went to a weekend to Scottsdale with my family and no kids. First time we've left all 3 kids alone. And so it was funny because we got off the plane to come home and my husband was like, well, goodbye, fun Jade. Because I was in a good spot. I was able to relax. I was able to be the person, laugh, and let my guard down and not be so uptight. And then we get home and I'm snapping again. It's like I was back to the 3 and the stressor of the 8 of just being in a household of 3 kids, 4 and under, I think. Unfortunately, I hit my stressor way more than I would like to.
But I think now we're able to identify that, and then you when you start feeling yourself in your stressor, and it's not like, oh, I'm being a low 4 today, No, it's more just being able to identify how you're behaving and look at yourself like introspectively and say, okay, I'm being some type of way. And I can see that. I'm identifying I'm being some type of way, and I can fix that by doing X, Y, and Z. It's just a road to becoming like a healthier you overall.
Yeah, and that's why I think this thing is so awesome, and I think everyone should take it. I think you should get your spouses to take it. Mm-hmm. Some spouses, depending on the number, are not going to be like, I'm not taking the quiz, like my 8 challenger husband.
Yep.
So it's funny. We went out. We had a date night with a couple friend of ours, and she happens to be a therapist. So she quickly knows all about the Enneagram. And so we're literally at the bar after dinner, and he's like, what in the heck are y'all talking about? So we convinced him to take the test, and he was spot on. He's an 8 through and through. I need to research more of his wings and highs and lows. Mm-hmm. Again, this is not a quick test that then just solves all the world problems. So definitely do the research. But he is an 8. He's a challenger, but he's also a giver. So I need to see where that gives in. Like, he will give the shirt off his back.
Let me see.
But when it comes to his daily life, he is going to be, this is the way it is. He's very blunt. There's no, swaying from him. He was a quick label. Like, some people are more easily placed in these categories, and some are going to take a little bit to figure out.
Mm-hmm. Because it's interesting that you say that he's a giver, because his arrow, like his stress, goes to the 2. So when he's not doing well, he's a 2. When he's doing great, he's a 5. But then his wings are 9, which is a peacemaker, and then 7, which is the enthusiast.
Oh, he's straight as that. So I think he probably actually is 8, swing 7, because he's the life of the party.
Yeah.
We're going on a hike and he's jumping around, like, singing, and hey, let's just all sing what if you went your whole day in song?
Yeah.
Like, no. The 3 in me is not going to do that. But he's a goofball. So it's kind of funny because he's an 8 challenger and then / goofball. Mm-hmm. And so unless you did this, you'd be like, how do you even do those 2 things?
Right, exactly.
Like, he actually is, it's kind of funny when you think about this. I always laugh. How can he be the strict dad and the fun dad at the same time?
Right. I wonder that about Matt.
He's
Matt and him do not have
parts.
the same personalities.
And I'm the comforter. I'm the 2, the helper. I'm like the pleaser. And the 8 hates the parenting of the pleaser. He's like, why are you coddling them? I'm like, because they're babies. But knowing that that's him, it's not that I'm going to change him. Like, do not try to change anybody. But it just helps explain our daily lives.
Exactly.
And not like, I can't. Sometimes, like, I get frustrated. We go on vacation. Oh my gosh, it's the worst. He gets so stressful. But the C in him comes out, like, not the C, the investigator, the researcher, and the strict, like, all these things pop out.
That would be his 5. Like, that's where...
It pulls in. So, but it's like, oh, that's Kyle. Just get ready. We're going on vacation.
Just get ready.
Just get ready. He's going to be so stressed, like OCD, like, it's in there, But I just come to know that's him. Now I label it a little bit more with these numbers and stuff. But, So, how is your husband?
So, he's a strong 3. Definitely a strong 3. And his wings are 2 and 4. And 2, I think, definitely applies to him because he always loves to help people. He really does. But his motivation is definitely to achieve. Mm-hmm. He wants to do all of it and be the best at it. And then him swinging to a 4, I think maybe less applies, but he definitely can be kind of like the individual side where he's expressive and those kinds of things. But I definitely see him more like 3 wing 2. But then also his stress is a 9 and his growth is a 6. And the 6, I think, was like the loyalist. And of course, we're new at this. I don't know. But ultimately, I think that it's extremely depictive of him. Is definitely a 3, though. He's hardcore the achiever, success-oriented, definitely adaptable, very much excelling. He does a wonderful job at that, and I see where it can kind of lead us to butting heads between being a 1 and then him being a 3. Because if you look on here, it also says how you're kind of compatible with your other number.
Yeah, I thought this was awesome because, like, literally, if you're a 2, it says, you click on how compatible are you with the 8, and, like, literally just click on it. It was awesome.
Yes.
The other thing that, too, because we, running out of time here, but there are 486 variations to these tests, so it's we're just amateurs, so people misdiagnose or their numbers all the time. So that's why it's like, take a test, take 4 tests, have your spouse take a test, but do the research and read over it if you really think this is something you want to learn about.
Exactly.
Because I know I'm a 2, but like I test really high in a 6. So, and that's the loyalist. So I am hardworking and reliable and responsible, but is that part of the achiever and the helper to me, or, so definitely take the test if you haven't. Make it a game with your spouse. I don't know.
Yeah.
Have some fun with it.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
don't look at it as any of it's wrong, because like when you look at some of these things and you look at fears and you look at like the kind of the stressor stuff, it's being very true to you. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's like, oh crap,
You might end up being able to hurt your own feelings if you dive too deep into it without realizing that you can sway one way or the other. You're not 100% just this, and you have the capability of adapting one way or the other based on the situation.
Yeah.
And that's the whole part of it. A really good example is now I'm going to be able to identify when we're sitting in traffic and my husband hates traffic. We're going to be able to identify that, okay, he's being the way that he is because he's just trying to achieve like getting through this traffic. That's like the most little example, but I'm over here just kind of like, I want to get to the end too, but it'll be fine. We're still going to get there kind of thing. So being able to see from their eyes and try and see from their perspective what it's like, it's going to help in the long run. So I really hope that this was beneficial for you. And if you take the test with the link below, just leave us a comment with what your type is and if you feel like it was right or not. I would love to kind of see what everybody feels like they are. And go ahead and have your husband or your wife do it for you and see if they get the same response that you did.
Yes, I'm gonna go home and do that.
Yeah, definitely gonna resend that to him like right now. So
All right.
Thanks so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.